Hello, Mary Meet. So since I have 5 minutes, I thought I would just make a video, even if my hair is, well, currently oiled up and ready to be washed, and I'm in a towel. So yeah, what I wanted to make a video about is basically how you can see a Christian Easter celebration as something that gives meaning to you as a pagan. I'm not talking about celebrating Ostara, because that's something that a lot of pagans do, and it was a couple of weeks ago. And a lot of us have celebrated it. Some of us will be celebrating it around these times instead, because you combine it with the time of Easter. I'm more talking about how to see a Christian Easter celebration in a pagan light. I made a video about how to see Christmas in a pagan light a few years ago, and some people seem to like that, so I thought I would make one for Easter. Now, the reason I'm making this video is that a lot of people have Christian family members, or they go to various Easter masses through school and so on and so forth, and it's nice to be able to see it within a context of your own religion, so that it also gives meaning to you. So, and of course, what I'm saying here is just my opinion. It's nothing that you can say this is how it is, definitely. And also, of course, this is not meant as an insult to any Christians. It is basically just a suggestion for pagans how they can have a more meaning out of it, because to me it is far more disrespectful to a religion to sit on a church bench. I can talk. Sit on a church bench and just wait impatiently for it to just end, than it is to take from it what suits your spiritual beliefs. So, to me, we have to look at it that the core elements of the Easter celebration we also have within paganism. The figure of Jesus sacrificing himself is very much exactly the same as the sacrificed and reborn king that pagans celebrate at Samhain. Now, of course, it is for us the wrong time of year for that celebration, but it's still a celebration to honor that archetype, the concept of a god figure that sacrifices himself for the betterment of the people. And as such, it can definitely have meaning for us, because remember that I think that a lot of pagans have a tendency to, because of the animosity that's often been between pagans and Christians, and when I say pagan here, I'm more thinking about Neo Pagan, Wiccan crowd, than every pagan belief, but because of course not all pagan beliefs have the same archetypes and ideals. But within neo-paganism, I think that a lot of people, because of the animosity that's there, have a tendency to just block out anything Christian. But really, especially if you are of the view that all gods are faces of the god and all goddesses are faces of the goddess, then Jehovah and Jesus will be other faces on the god. And Mary and Mary Magdalene could easily be seen as other faces of the goddess. And as such, you can very easily see a church service to honor the sacrifice of Jesus to be just as valid as an honoring of the archetype of the god as somebody who sacrifices himself for the good of his people. And as such, it will have a lot of meaning also to a neo-pagan. Another story that a lot of pagans, there's a very popular among pagans and among others as well, is of course the story of Persephone. And it is a story that's often brought up around a star. And this is not a sacrificed and reborn king, but instead a queen. Basically, for those that don't know, very, very quickly, the story is that Demeter, the goddess of the earth, goddess of fertility, of summer, basically, yeah. She has a daughter called Persephone, also known as Kore, that translates as the girl. Well, she's out on the fields and picking flowers when Hades, the god of the underworld, sees her, and he falls immediately madly in love with her and kidnaps her. Now, Demeter basically gets so grief-stricken that she refuses to let spring come. And this becomes a problem. It's a problem when a nature goddess goes on strike. So, eventually Zeus negotiates and Hades agrees to let Kore come back to the land of the living, but only half of the year. So that at every autumn she descends into the underworld, and because of Demeter's grief at losing her daughter, you have winter. And then at springtime, Kore comes back from the underworld and nature renews. This is a story that's often portrayed in ritual, even today among Neo Pagans, and it has very much the same ideas as the story around Christ dying on the cross, in that you have a divine entity who dies to save everybody, because, yeah, she has to keep peace between the gods, which if she didn't keep that peace, things would be pretty bad for the humans. And then, after a while, she is resurrected and lives again. So you can very much see that that archetype is also something that you can see celebrated within a traditional Easter celebration. So I think that both keeping Kore in mind and also seeing it as a celebration while it is out of season to the sacrificed and reborn king can help you see meaning and value in following your relatives to Easter Mass and so on. So what about the rest of Easter celebration, typical Easter celebration? There's a lot about that is taken from paganism. There's a lot of the way that Christian holidays are typically celebrated originally comes from pagan roots. So, for example, eggs in the springtime is a symbol of the renewal of life. So, for example, I know a lot of pagans that decorate. Basically, I don't know if you have this in America. I think most of my viewers are American. But in Norway, it's typical to have. We take in birch, I think that's the name of the tree, birch branches. And these are then put in a vase and decorated almost like you would decorate a Christmas tree. With basically you make little eggs and all sorts of Eastery decorations. And for a lot of pagan that has a ritual meaning to take the birch, which it becomes in itself a symbol of spring and renewal, and decorating it with painted eggs. So that custom that for a lot of people lost completely any religious meaning and becomes, and is a little more a typical Easter celebration, becomes then something that has a deep pagan meaning. The birch also have another meaning, that originally there was an Easter tradition that the members of a household would whip one another with the branches of a birch at Easter time to atone for the various sins they did throughout the year. This is then, of course, a cleansing ritual. In Iceland, you still have basically within saunas, they will whip one another with bouquet of birch branches. Not so much that it hurts, of course, but still. And it's good for the skin, good for the body, and so on. For a lot of people, it also have a meaning of being cleansing. And the same is that, and because of that, the birch have gotten the symbolism of being a very cleansing tree. Having a bouquet of birches there is cleansing, and it goes to the whole thing. You cleanse out the old and you bring in the new. Because now is the time of new spring, of new life, of new hope. Winter is going, spring is coming, and yeah, and everything that comes with that. So yeah. Then you have, of course, chickens. That is a typical symbol of Easter. And chickens, of course, is baby hens. They do have a symbol of being, they're a symbol of spring, and they're also a symbol of new life. Another thing that chickens are, of course, they are birds, so they symbolize a link between our earthly world and the spirit world. So in a way, chickens becomes a wish to the spirits, to the spirit world, to the gods of spring, of renewed life. And the hair has a long, I can't even begin to scratch the surface in this video, it would be way too long. It has a very long tradition as a pagan symbol. Among other things, it stands for fertility, vitality. It is one of the symbols of the god. So basically, if you pick up a pagan book and just look at all of the different symbols that are present in typical Easter celebration, you can definitely find so much pagan meaning there. So, for example, giving somebody an egg full of goodies as a gift. That's at least the tradition here in Norway, that basically parents will fill an egg with goodies and present their children as a gift. That very much becomes a wish, a spiritual wish for good luck, for renewal, for cleansing, basically for the coming year. There's so many things that you can find there. So it's definitely quite possible to have a traditional Easter celebration with your family and see it in a pagan light, so it also have meaning for you. Because remember, a lot of these traditions are taken from pagan practices, and I mean, I have just scratched the surface. There's so much there, so many rituals, so many ideas, so many registry behind these symbols, that if we were gonna talk about all of them, we would be here until tomorrow. So really, I recommend if you have one of those symbol lexicons, you can go through those. And if not, you can Google it and find out the various pagan meanings of typical Easter customs within customs on symbols within that's a practice within your nation, and you will find such a rich tradition. Because really what Easter is a celebration of spring. It's a celebration that now spring has come. Winter is on its way, and spring is here. Soon there will be summer. And it is a time of hope and renewal. And really that is a very important message to keep in mind. And I think that, yeah, whatever not Neo Pagan or not, these more traditional Western Easter celebrations, they are sort of here to stay. We all, most of us at least, have family members that celebrate Easter in some way or another. And it is nice to be able to find meaning in that, even if we might not share the faith of said family members. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Have a great day. Blessed be and happy Easter.